I finished the Drawing Foundations module at New Masters Academy, and I am here to share my experience and a review with you. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Julie. I decided to be an artist, and I've been studying art online with New Masters Academy, an online art school, for a year and a half now. I started in May 2023, and in September 2024 I finished the Drawing Foundations module. In this video I'm going to tell you what my experience was for this entire module, what my favorite courses were, where I struggled the most, what maybe I would do differently if I were to start over right now, and finally if it was worth it, which I can give you a spoiler right now. It was worth it. I won't make you wait for the end of this video for this piece of information. It was worth it. I am very happy about it. I am also quite proud of it. It is an achievement. I want to make an important disclaimer before I start. That is, New Masters Academy is an online art school, and they are different from a traditional art school or other platforms in many ways, but one of them is that they are constantly improving their offerings and changing things like the order of the classes and things like that from what they see with the students, where they're struggling and the feedback they receive. And so changes can happen, and depending on when you watch this video, the exact situation, the exact order of the classes will be different from what I am sharing with you today. And I can say it with certainty because since I started the Drawing Foundations module, it has already gone through two major changes, one of them about the classes themselves and the order of the classes, and the other one about the way interactive feedback is given. So I just want to tell you it can be different, and in case you have any questions, anything I can help you with about New Masters Academy or the Drawing Foundations module, I am more than happy to help you. Just ask in the comments, or you can just DM me on Instagram, and yeah, feel free to reach out if you need anything. Another important thing to note is that I wasn't a complete beginner when I started New Masters Academy, so it would be great to see, I would love to see the journey of someone who is really a beginner when they start and goes through the module, and the transformation would be just amazing. But I wasn't a beginner, so I came at New Masters Academy with zero academic or artistic training, zero official instruction, so to speak, but I had a lot of experience, and my parents also went to an art school, and so as I was growing up I was familiar with some notions of perspective, color theory, basic proportions, and just techniques of observation that gave me a good head start, so to speak. So I wasn't a beginner. I think it is important to say it because I don't want to give you any false ideas, and yeah, just know that every journey is different. So they have what they call the course guide that you can download, and you can see which classes they recommend that you take and in which order depending on what you want to do. They offer different tracks. You have illustration, figure painting, portrait painting, landscape painting, comics, sculpture, and another one, entertainment art, I believe. So a lot of different tracks. And for each track, you have a list of modules that you need to follow to do the track. But no matter what you do, the very first module at New Masters Academy, no matter the kind of art you want to do, is the Drawing Foundations module. Everyone has to go through the Drawing Foundations, and this is the core of the philosophy at New Masters Academy. When you read it, you can say, oh yeah, Drawing Foundations, it's the basics, it's going to be short, it's going to be quick, and then I can move on to the real stuff. This is kind of the idea I had, but this isn't how they do things. For them, the foundations are the big stuff, and what you're going to do after is going to really build on it and use it a lot. So this is the real big thing. This is where most of the learning happens before you move on to the more specialized modules. So Drawing Foundations, the first module, it is the longest, heaviest module in their curriculum. Right now, the estimation is that it is supposed to take, and please take it with a grain of salt, because since it's online learning and it's self-paced, it can vary widely from one student to the other and your personal situation. But their estimation is that it could take 1.5 to 2 full years to go through the Drawing Foundations module. So my experience, it took me a year and, May, June, July, August, September, a year and 4 months from the day I started the first class to the day I finished my final assignment. So quite a long time for me. I had some moments during this where I considered myself, and I was a full-time art student learning full-time at home, but I also have a small business that I do, that's my job. I also have this YouTube channel, and so yeah, depending on the time I was focusing more or less on my studies or on something else. I had long periods of time where I didn't submit at all. At 2 occasions, I stopped doing the assignments or any learning for like 3 months, which is a lot of time. So I could have done it faster. I also had time when I was working like crazy, and I'm going to talk about it in the end, about what I would do differently if I were to start over now. But this is my experience, and one important thing to note about the way I took these classes is that when I enrolled at New Masters Academy, they gave you the option, they still do, but it was slightly different back then. We had the option to receive feedback on our assignments, but there was a condition. And the condition was that we had to take every single assignment, every single class in the exact order that it was laid out in the course guide. So I have taken the Drawing Foundations module exactly as it is intended, in the exact order. I went through every single assignment and I received feedback for every single assignment, so I was able to get some certificates for the courses that I completed, and I think I could have a certificate for the module, but I didn't ask for it yet, so I need to reach out to ask for this one. But yeah, I received feedback. The feedback system changed since I started, so right now it all happens on the New Masters Academy website for the courses that are interactive, so all of the courses of the Drawing Foundations module and also some other courses, and they are opening more and more. Under the assignments tab, you have a form or a button saying like submit for feedback or something like that, and you can submit your assignment for feedback this way. Since now feedback costs tokens, the condition that was in place when I started, that you have to do it in order, is, yeah, it's no longer the case. Right now you can submit any assignment for any class in any order you want, as long as it is interactive, and you can get feedback on it. So you don't have to do it in order the way I did, but I would still advise that you do. It's been extremely important for me to have the discipline to go through some courses that were less enjoyable, not as easy for me, or both, and knowing that there was no way around an assignment, there was no way around a class. I just had to submit it, I had to go through it. This gave me the structure that I really needed in order to be able to go through the entire module. It's not easy when it's self-paced, when you're on your own at home learning, and no one except yourself is going to tell you to get started, get working, start watching the lessons, start doing the assignments, and it's been important for me. At my most productive, when I was working like crazy and in many ways neglecting myself, and I don't advise that you do that, I submitted 8 assignments in a week. And at my lowest, when I couldn't bear to even watch a lesson or do an assignment and I was a bit burnt out, I didn't submit for as long as 3 months. This happened twice, as I mentioned, but I want to tell you about my favorite courses to start, and then I will move on to the more challenging ones. It's very difficult for me to select just a few courses because all of them, even the ones I didn't enjoy as much, brought me a lot artistically and personally, and when I'm drawing, I have just little sentences and bits of information from previous classes that come back into my mind, and yeah, it's hard to select a few. But some courses for me stand out because I had a very strong feeling when I was taking them, or this is when a light bulb went on for me. My first favorite class from the Drawing Foundations module was Fundamentals of Drawing and Perspective with Renee Wang. And it is a very early class. It is the second class listed in the Drawing Foundations. When I was taking it, it was slightly different from what it is now because they hadn't recorded the studio version of this course yet. So the one I took was the recordings of a live class that had run previously. I had the exact same content. It was just not as polished in terms of like video and all of that. I loved this class. I think it is, first, Renee is an excellent teacher, like all of the teachers that I had with these courses at New Masters Academy. They're all excellent. Some of them, of course, resonate with me more than others, and it's going to be the same with you. You have your own taste, your own way that you like things explained to you, and the way things work for you. For me, Renee is great and has a process and a way of explaining things that really works for me. I had a great time, and especially the very first assignment, that is, you do some contour drawing from observation, and she goes through the enveloping methods and how you go from general to specific, and how line quality can express a lot of things, and how you arrive to your final line gradually. And this entire process, we are just drawing vegetables at this point, okay? I was drawing a bell pepper, a squash, and a banana. So it's not fascinating as a subject, but this entire process was so enjoyable for me, and I also enjoyed the result of this drawing so much that it was like a revelation moment. And I remember clearly this day, this drawing day for me was one of my best drawing days. I remembered how much I can enjoy drawing and how good, I think I experienced a flow state, basically, how good it was to be observing my subject and making marks on the paper, and I just had a great time. I didn't enjoy the final part of the class as much just because I have a sensory thing where I hate charcoal and the feeling of charcoal, and even just watching someone using it and hearing the sound that it makes on paper, I can feel the way it would vibrate on my hand, and this is awful for me, just like fingernails on a chalkboard. So because of this, it wasn't as enjoyable, but the artistic part, the drawing content, was great. So that's my first favorite class. The second one, when I took the class, it was mandatory, so it was in the course guide and it wasn't a choice point, you had to take it. Right now it is a choice point, you can take either this one or another one. For me, I didn't have a choice, and so I had to take both, which I'm very happy I did. So it is Drawing with Force with Michael Matesi, and I'm going to link his YouTube channel because he has his own program and method, and he's doing a lot of YouTube content, so I'm going to link his channel as well. If you want to check his method out, he has this class at New Masters Academy where you can take it, but I believe it is the exact same content. So Drawing with Force is a very specific approach to drawing, and for me it was my first, not the exact first, but it was for me my introduction to gesture drawing and what gesture is, which is a very deep, complex, abstract, difficult notion to grasp, because gesture means different things to different artists and different instructors, and it is something that you feel. It's not, you can't look at a reference or look at a drawing and say, this is the gesture, and I can give you, like, I can rate your success based on an objective thing, because it's not objective, it is something that you feel, and so it makes it more difficult to explain, more difficult to grasp, because it's not about giving the student a piece of information as much as it is getting them to see the world a certain way and to make this experience. And drawing with force, the force method by Michael Matesi, is, for me, it was a great way to be introduced to gesture drawing. It was a very practical, very logical way to have it explained to me and also to experience it. I have mixed feelings about this class, to be honest with you. It is one of my favorites because I had this revelation about gesture, and it's an ingredient that I love and that is a big part of the art I enjoy and why I enjoy it. And so finally starting to understand it was a big revelation for me, and I was seeing it everywhere and it was amazing. I'm so happy that I took this class for this. I could have been introduced to gesture a different way, but this was a great introduction. Anyway, just mixed feelings because I didn't enjoy the art that I produced for the assignment. It is not meant to be enjoyable. You produce a lot of drawings, most of them, or maybe all of them are bad, and that's the point. So for that I didn't like it, but that was necessary, and yeah, again, one of my favorite classes for the introduction to gesture. And if you are struggling to understand the concept, I think the first weeks of this class can be a great way to have a different perspective on it and yeah, give you another chance to understand it from a different angle. Right after this one, I took Constructive Head Drawing 1 with Steve Houston, and that's one of my favorite classes because I enjoy Steve Houston's teaching a lot. Again, he's famous, rightfully, and he makes a lot of YouTube content, so I will leave a link or a mention or whatever it takes to his YouTube channel if you want to check it out. He has his own program and things going on, but he also has some pre-recorded courses at New Masters Academy that I believe were recorded a while ago, but still extremely valuable. I love his teaching style. I find him very inspiring and his ideas resonate with me, but one of the reasons also why this class was so enjoyable for me is just because of the drawings that I did during this class that are some of my favorites from this sketchbook. So yeah, I took a lot from it and I just had a great time drawing the assignments. It doesn't have to be the case, but when it is, it's nice. One class that a lot of people fear is Perspective 1 with Eric Olson. Some people love it, some people hate it and don't want to deal with it. I was somewhere in the middle. I am not a fan of perspective. It doesn't make sense to put it this way. Let's say it's not something that I even intend to use in my artworks. The art I like is more symbolic, more medieval, and yeah, it doesn't use formal perspective really, but it's still, yeah, I wasn't awfully afraid of it because I enjoyed geometry and I knew that, let's compare it to gesture. Gesture is difficult for me because it isn't something that can be right or wrong, and if you just apply yourself and do things exactly the way you're told, you're going to succeed. So yeah, I believe it is more difficult because perspective is just a set of rules, and if you are just able to do exactly what you're told, even if it is counterintuitive, even if it is tedious, you're just going to succeed. And yeah, I don't want to say that it's easy, or yeah, I don't want to be insensitive to people's difficulties if you're having some, but for me, for this reason, it was easy. In a sense, it was still a lot of work. It's a very intense class. I believe it is 50 hours of video content. As you watch the videos, you follow along to make diagrams in this big diagram sketchbook, and you make over 60 diagrams in total, and then you have weekly assignments on top of it. So it was a very intense class, but I want to put it in my favorites because at the beginning of the class, the teacher, Eric Olson, tells you that it's like, I believe the image he uses is a warehouse. You have this big warehouse and you have all of these, okay, I'm trying to repeat an image but I don't have the vocabulary. What you touch to turn on the lights, all of these things here, you know what it is. And you have two options, you have two choices. Option number one, you can not learn formal perspective, that is the warehouse, and you can spend your entire career not knowing what each of these switches each of these switches do, and there are tons of switches. And so each time you go in the warehouse, and you will have to go to YouTube or any kind of resource, a book, whatever, and search how to do this. What does this switch do? Or you could study formal perspective, and how this course works is that it is going to turn on and off every switch one by one and make you take notes, and so you will know how everything works. You probably, this is my experience, not Eric Olson speaking anymore, you probably won't remember it on the top of your head, but because you copied all of the diagrams, you're going to have something to refer back to. So it was intensive, but it was comprehensive. Yeah, it's not the entirety of the perspective classes at New Masters Academy, but it was a great one. And again, I don't intend to use a lot of perspective in my work, but I'm very happy that I took it, and I believe that it's, very important to go through this kind of learning, because you're so well equipped then to do whatever you want, and you have not just some tips, not just some quick ways of doing things that you gathered here and there, but you have somewhere the framework of how it works and why it works this way. And you can just apply tips, you can just apply quick methods, but at least you know what they're based on. And this is the way that I like to know my subject. And I also wanted to mention Introduction to Inking. I'm less objective about this class because I finished it I just finished it last month in September. I am recording this in October, and it was again a challenging, intense class, but I absolutely love Miles Yoshida's teaching, and I loved working with this medium, and having this slow, deliberate approach just suited me very well, and I'm very happy about some of the assignments that I did, not all of them, but some of them I'm very proud of, and I was very happy to be able to finish the entire module with the self-portrait. That is the final assignment for this class. And yeah, again, one of my favorites. I knew from the start that I was going to love this one, and so when I was taking Drawing Foundations 1, which is the first class in the entire module, I already ordered all of the materials to take Introduction to Inking, and I wanted to take them at the same time. Then I decided to just follow the order, and I kept it for last, knowing that I would love it, and I did. Now, the classes that made me struggle the most. If you have been following my channel, you know probably which ones I'm going to talk about. This doesn't have to do with the quality of the classes. These courses are other students' favorites, and it's all personal taste, personal goals, and how you like to work, what you like to do. And the very fact that these classes were so challenging to me is the reason why I should take them, and I should have taken them, and I'm glad I did. But the first one is Dynamic Gesture Drawing. Right now it is at the choice point where you can choose either drawing with force or dynamic gesture drawing. And don't base your choice on my own opinion, because I am only talking about my experience and the way I lived it. Yours could be completely different. It's very, very personal. I feel bad for saying this on YouTube. I don't love Glenn Villepeu's teaching. Not that it's bad, not that there is anything wrong with it. I wouldn't even dare saying something like that. It's just not the way that resonates with me the most. I would say that his teaching style relies heavily on demonstrations and showing you the way he draws, and the speaking part of the teaching isn't as important as the demonstration itself. If I compare Mike Matesi to Glenn Villepeu in their teaching styles, drawing with force is a very structured. Glenn Villepeu's approach is also structured, but it's a very structured approach, and he uses specific words, introducing them in a specific order, and it's, like the script feels more structured to me. Glenn Villepeu has a structured approach in the sense that it is a step by step, but the way he's demonstrating it feels more organic, it feels more natural, and drawing with force you can understand but dynamic gesture drawing you need to absorb. And I'm trying to compare them in the most objective way that I can, because it is really not one is better than the other. Glenn Villepot has been a lot more influential for drawing than Mike Matisse is, and he's like above in the sense that he came before and he taught more people. Very different styles. I didn't resonate with Glenn Villepot's teaching as much. It doesn't mean that it's bad. That being said, I took a lot from this class and I'm very happy that I did, because I made the most progress in my figure drawings while I was taking dynamic gesture drawing, but it was so difficult for me that I took a long break in the middle of the class, like I did with the other course that I'm going to talk about. But yeah, a very important class in my development, but one that was challenging and not as enjoyable to take. One thing I didn't know back then, and that could have made it a lot more enjoyable for one, but also a lot easier for me. And so that's my tip. If you're taking it today, it's so stupid that I didn't know it and I really regret it. But dynamic gesture drawing is a pre-recorded class, but it also ran as a live class a few times. Joshua Jacobo, and I'm sorry because I don't remember his name, I haven't taken a class with this instructor, but they would critique students' assignments and expand on the class. And so if I were to take it again, which maybe I will, I would listen to the recordings of the live class to expand on Glenn Villepot's teaching and demonstrations, because I think having this different way of explaining things would definitely like counteract the problems that I had with this class. And the second one is dynamic sketching. This one is taught by Charles Hugh, and I really enjoy Charles' teaching style. That's not a problem. I think this one was challenging for a few reasons. The sheer amount of work that you have to produce every week. It is again, it is a class that happens at the very end of the Drawing Foundations module, so it is right now in part 6. So the sheer amount of work that you have to do for every week. It is a 12 weeks class for which you have to produce 8 pages of sketches per week. The subject matters, I didn't like all of them. Most of them I really disliked. But it was kind of like a bootcamp, something demanding, but yeah, useful to go through, because it made me draw things that I wouldn't have drawn otherwise. And the last thing is the medium that we use. It is a class done entirely in ink without an underdrawing, and you're working intentionally in a medium that isn't erasable to train you to be more intentional and also make do with your mistakes. And it's good training. It's a good reason to work in ink, but it's with a fine liner pen, and I just dislike them. I just hate them, and I hate them even more now that I had to go through so many drawings with it. And I learned to use this tool in a better way for me. I made some progress with it, but I still don't like it right now. So that was another very challenging class, and another class during which I took a very long break. I took a 3-month break from all coursework in the middle of this class, so it took me a very long time to finish it. Both of them I considered giving up, and I'm glad I didn't, but I'm also glad that it's over now. Now, the big question, was the Drawing Foundations module worth it? One thing I have to highlight again is that the experience I had is different from the experience you may have right now, because when I enrolled, feedback was in beta. They were just, starting to offer feedback on courses, and so when I started, I didn't have to pay extra for feedback. It was included because they were just trying things out. When I finished the module, they changed the formula, and so right now feedback isn't free anymore. They are in their final, more professional version, and so they have a system that it's not included in your subscription. You can buy tokens and you can get feedback for tokens, and I will let you discover it. But the thing that I want to say is that I invested money in my education at New Masters Academy. I paid. I had some excellent discounts because I was lucky to be there at some times where they had some discounts. But the main thing is that I didn't have to pay for the interactivity for the entire duration of the module. Financially wise, it would have been worth it, even if I had to pay, but I wouldn't have been able to afford it. I just wouldn't have done it as quickly as I did if I had to pay tokens to get feedback. So yeah, I just wanted to address it because I know that it can be a big factor for a lot of people, and it is a big difference between the experience I had and the experience you may have right now. But at the same time, it doesn't have anything to do with the learning experience, and this is what I want to talk about more. Was it worth it as an investment of my time and energy? It was. As I said at the beginning of the video, it was worth it. I joined New Masters Academy in May 2023 and started the interactive classes with, I feel like I was a different person than I am now. I had unrealistic expectations about how long it would take to become masterful at my art and exactly what it was going to take. I like to think that I wasn't as wrong as some people who haven't been as experienced, because my parents studied art and so I had some ideas already and some respect for the craft. So I didn't believe it was just talent. I knew there was some work that had to be done, but I was still underestimating the amount of work that was going to take place, the amount of information. I didn't realize how big of a topic and an endeavor art learning was when I joined the New Masters Academy. And so I had this idea that it would take me just a few months to finish the Drawing Foundations module, and then I would be like completely trained and awesome. And I'm exaggerating, but that's the idea. I was a different person. As I went through the first classes, one of the big realizations that I had was, and it's so, like, it fueled my passion for art, what a deep, interesting, fascinating thing art and art learning is, and how much there is to it, and how deep it is, how long you can study and dedicate yourself. And I was gaining appreciation for the old masters and also some artists working today. I gained such a strong appreciation for art, and yeah, it is a humbling endeavor, I would say. So that's a big thing that changed for me, and in which I changed since I started the module. But that being said, it is a very rich, very intense module of classes. It is, I didn't count them. It is a lot of classes. It is, I believe, for me at least, it's going to be different depending on your choices, and also it changed since I started. For me, it was 121 assignments, so 121 lessons. I don't remember how many hours of instructions exactly, around 300 hours, if I'm not wrong. But it was a lot, but a lot of different approaches. You don't learn just one method, you learn concepts in different ways. Like dynamic gesture drawing is completely different from drawing with force, but it's the same concept deeply. And being exposed to so many approaches, being exposed to so many art notions, some of them that I really resonate with, I really want to use, like portrait drawing, I want it to be a big part of my practice. Others that I have no interest in and I'm not good at, but I'm glad that I learned about it, like landscape drawing. It's difficult for me, I don't like it, but I had to go through it. Perspective, again, not my favorite thing, despite the fact that it was one of my favorite classes. But having been exposed to so many of these things, I feel pretty confident in my abilities now, in the fact that I am pretty well-rounded. I hope it's not going to sound too pretentious, but I'm going to say it the way it is. I feel very well trained. I feel confident in my abilities. I don't feel like I mastered any of the things that I learned. I am not a master, but I am, at the very least, I know what I'm doing. I can tell when I don't know what I'm doing. I can refer back to some notes. I know, like, if I have a weak spot, I can identify it to some extent, and I know where I need to work more, where I need to research, and yeah, in that sense, I feel ready, in a sense. Yeah, a certain level of confidence in my abilities that is extremely nice to have, that I definitely couldn't have had without this intense training, because I wasn't trained, but also because I didn't know what I was dealing with, and I couldn't have known what I was dealing with just because this world is so big and I didn't realize it. The fact that I received feedback on every assignment and that I completed the assignments with positive feedback is also a big factor in the confidence that I received. What I wish I had done differently, mainly, I wish I had paced myself more and had a more consistent rate of assignment submission and hadn't stopped for such a long time like I did twice. And I also wish that I had done some more personal work on the side. So these are the two big things that I would do differently and that I would advise you to do differently. And I made a video about all of my advice for new Masters Academy students. I will leave a link right now. If you want to get started with New Masters Academy, I highly recommend that you check it out. And anyway, thank you for watching, stay creative, and I will see you in the next one.